In our studio today we have a music band. Travel notes, you just see one, because one is enough for now. You will see anyway some wonderful music in a clip, which we will edit in a long story. Yes, actually I told you it was going to be a short interview. We do it longer. You will die in this interview.
You've lied to me.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely a liar. The first question is quite heavy, quite serious. Your name?
My name. So my name is Bennett Serban, and I'm the violinist in the group.
And you're American? And
I'm American.
And you tour Europe?
Yes. For the last 6 years, I live here legally, mind you, as well. Legal. So I am an immigrant as well. Yes,
yes, but legal.
Legal.
Yes. And you tour Europe with
yes.
your fellow musicians. You're the violinist, and another
Correct.
one plays guitar.
Yes,
another one plays percussion.
Florian Eisenschmidt from Germany, he's the guitarist, and Oliver Maguire from London in England.
You even want to tell their names. We will
yes.
present them later.
Yes.
Anyway, why are you touring Europe with the European slogan? You stole it.
Well, it's not that we stole it, it's that we're celebrating it, actually. So for the last 6 years, I mentioned, we've been living here in Europe, we've been traveling a lot, and frankly, most of our repertoire prior to this last tour, this most recent EP that we did, most of our repertoire has been written here in Europe. And what we say we do is travel, experience different cultures, local cultures, and then try to build kind of musical bridges between those cultures through these compositions. So, for example, we could mix something Celtic with something very Southern Italian, and which we've done in a piece of ours called Fioruir, where we took kind of a tarantella and mixed it with this Celtic violin and rhythms as well.
And it's always a good mix?
So far, yeah. Yeah, so far. I mean, you'd be surprised how many European cultures, though they sometimes appear very different on the surface, they actually have a lot of historical commonality, and it extends into the music.
Actually, especially around the Mediterranean, but I'm quite surprised about Celtic music mixing with Mediterranean music. That's something which I'm really curious about.
They have a very interesting history together, actually.
Actually, yes, because of the Romans and many other things.
Correct.
But what I'm a bit surprised is you make quite a political speech somehow. And Ursula von der Leyen, when she was just nominated as a president of the European Commission, she also toured Europe, and she said, I want to unite European people from north to south, from east to west. It's not that easy for her.
No.
You do it with music, it's easier.
Well, we're trying. And really, I think part of the reason that it was not that easy for her is that the mentality's not there yet. And I think one of the things that I've noticed, especially with the younger generations here in Europe, is a lot of people are starting to see themselves as European. And I think that's very important, is to celebrate the continent of Europe and the diversity that is here, which is what we're trying to do with this album. You know, over the last couple of years, I mean, you report the news, you can feel that, you know, there's this kind of reversion. You can even hear it in Macron's speeches, you know, to beware of nationalism, beware of Trumpism, this, you know, America first mentality. And what we're really celebrating here is not necessarily, you know, that we want, you know, this big world government, although it would be potentially very nice, but just the idea that Europeans see themselves as Europeans. You know, really what we like to do is I like to look at Europe kind of like an orchestra, where you have a lot of different instruments inside that make up different regions or different sections, and they have their commonalities. You know, you have woodwinds, or you have brass, or you have strings or percussion. And within that context, there's even more granial differences, different instruments that have very different histories. And yet, somehow, if all of those different instruments with different histories are played together harmoniously, everyone understanding its strength and its weakness, you have a beautiful piece of music. A composer, a leader, a great leader, a conductor, can understand the place of each one of those to understand how they can harmoniously make something wonderful. And if all of those different instruments decide, well, I'm more important than the other one, or I'm this or I'm that, and they try to outshine the other one, you just have chaos. And that beautiful piece that's timeless, that Bach, that Mozart, that Saint-Saëns, is gone. We don't have it.
Let's go into the metaphor and see how it can be solved politically through music.
Okay.
Difficult exercise, actually. Imagine that the music director of this big band wants to do too much about that, too much about mixing, and he's asking everyone to get rid of their roots, actually.
Correct.
And to get rid of their traditional part and just play together something which is different from what they are.
Right.
Does it work in music?
Not. No. I would say I would argue that because what you're asking is you're actually asking that.
Now I'm below your of the devil. You see.
When I'm looking at it's good. When we're looking at all the different nuances, you know, if you have a very great piece of music that spans the sonic spectrum, right? So you have these low bass instruments all the way up to your soprano, your very high treble-ish instruments. If you were to basically say, okay, everyone is performing in the same octave, we're all in the same timbre, we're all in the same this, you can never write a symphony.
You have
It's
no
not
variety.
possible. You have no variance. And so I think that, you know, one of the things that's happening now, I think, in Europe, and I think it's happening globally, quite frankly, but let's use Europe as a microcosm, is that people are fearing that because of this rapid globalization that we've had and this interconnectivity through the internet, people are fearing that they're losing their cultural identity. And they're reflecting that fear in their politics. And for me, I think they should be, quite frankly, separate. I think we can, without getting politically extreme, we can still celebrate one another's cultures, but that doesn't have to take us down a road of nationalism and ultranationalism and supernaturalism and nationalism, pardon me. That's what we don't want, and that's really what we're saying here, is that you can celebrate your culture but still understand that you are European.
And part of the world, anyway.
Correct.
Because your mix is also farther than Europe.
Theoretically, Europe is just the brass section. But
that's it.
For this exercise, we're going to look at Europe as the orchestra for this album. But ultimately, yes, I mean, what we're trying to achieve throughout the course of our career, so to speak, is to really take that even beyond.
Let's go a bit more into
Europe.
music now, because
Sure.
we don't even too much about politics.
Yes.
You are in the process of creation of a new album, actually.
Yes,
Or
in the very beginning, actually. This is the very interesting thing, is that right now, with Hitting the Road, one of the things that we're asking in everywhere that we go is, hey, if you know a musician, or if you know especially a traditional musician, or a music historian, or someone that you think would be interesting for us to connect with, we're putting out a call to you. That's what we're looking for, is people to connect with, to expand on this idea, to collaborate, and to really show this European culture that's been building. Because I think more people internationally and intranationally need to see that and really understand.
So you do some kind of talent scouting in the same time?
Informally, yeah. Informally.
And you are touring Europe in
Yes.
order to do that.
Yes.
And you like a lot to play on the street, actually.
Also, yes.
You do live concerts everywhere. You do it in bars, cafes, restaurants, theaters, streets.
Yeah.
Whatever situation is good enough for you.
Wherever we can share. Yeah, and each performance is a little bit different, you know. Quite frankly, sometimes we prefer to perform in the street than on a massive concert stage. The performances are extremely different, but one thing that's for sure is you connect at eye level with someone. Mm-hmm. And when you're trying to create new repertoire, this is the brilliant way to do it. You know, to be able to actually stand in a square in Italy, for example, and be at eye level with your audience, suddenly you get this breath of inspiration that helps you kind of change your music a little bit. And that's really the moment that we say, okay, now we're on to something that we got from Italy. That's the culture of Italy that's bringing itself into our music, and it's amazing how that works. It's
how you do mix it all. I mean, Balkanic music has some different riffs than traditional Italian music, for example, which is quite basic in its tradition, and jazz riffs, the jazz scale, the blues scale is a pentatonic one, while the other ones are heptatonic. How do you mix everything this way?
I think honestly, it's impossible to mix everything in one song, right? Mm-hmm. But really, the basis point is, for example, we would start with, let's take this song that we were talking about before, this mix of North and South. I mean, the idea came from a Calabrese friend of mine who said, I love tarantella, I play tarantella, I would love for you to write a tarantella. And sitting on the Danube, actually, in a completely different area. I was, okay, I know the rhythms of Tarantella, I listen to a lot of Tarantella, I love Tarantella, and for whatever reason, I was getting this kind of Celtic inspiration, and it gave me this thought of, wow, you know, seeing the movement of the water and thinking about how, you know, the Celts had moved up and down historically through the Roman Empire and the territorial trading that was going on, and for example, you know, Milan and many other cities being Celtic in origin. I had this idea of, you know, could I do this? Could we compose this north meets south, really take Celtic violin and mix it with Tarantella? And that was the starting point, like hearing that melody and getting that idea. And then, of course, as we've performed it and we've worked on it a little bit more, it's taking more and more and more shape.
That's something quite mad, actually, mad enough for me. If I want
Mad
to
is
try a justification to it, an explanation to it, I would say, okay, Danube reminds of waltz, but maybe you were in the Balkans. But anyway, waltz has a 3 times. It's a quite circular rhythm. Tarantella is danced circularly. It's a circular dance.
Whoa.
Obviously, I'm wrong about that. Maybe you were just inspired by waves or whatever else.
Yeah, for movement, there's something. I mean, we're travelers for sure, and so for us, the act of traveling and particularly rivers are very inspiring. And Europe has many wonderful rivers with great tradition. Mm-hmm. You know, moving up and down them, and you can, when you travel them, you can see that connection. You know, the Danube is my favorite example because, I mean, from
where was it actually?
Novi Sad, in Serbia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So that's a bit different than Vienna, but not that much.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, you're right. Yeah, it's of course now I think the culture is more different than it was perhaps if we were standing in that same point 150 years ago, and it was still part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. but yeah, I mean, there's those rivers for us have been very inspiring. I mean, also in Paris we have a song that the original melody kind of came from standing on the banks of the Seine, and you know, the same in Berlin on the Spree. I mean, we've written a lot of music on and around rivers, and there's something magical about it.
Did you try to propose it there, that mix? Tarantella on the Danube in Novi Sad? Tarantella with Celtic? I mean,
yeah, no, it took a little bit. No, in fact, unfortunately, no, because it took shape over time. But that was the instigating point there. And then I would say it really kind of got to its final form, ironically, in Britannia.
Wow.
And so it took
where
time, and where they have a strong tradition. Yeah, right. And before in Novi Sad, we were in Italy. And so it was like the starting point with friends in Italy, right at Tarantella, went on the water, got this wave of inspiration, this idea, then went to Britannia, and it was like, okay, now I feel like we're there.
So what I propose is you finish your experiment. Let's say it's an experimental tour.
Mm-hmm.
You conclude it, and then you come back here and tell us about the results.
Yes. I love this. This is frankly what we're looking for. And, you know, because this project, while it will take time, because for us, we don't want to shortchange anywhere. We want to really...
We will be here.
Good.
Hopefully.
Yeah, don't go anywhere, please. But yes, I mean, that really is our goal, is to travel very extensively and connect with a lot of different people and musicians in a lot of different places, and document it very well.
That's somehow our goal also, because we do it through television waves.
Yes.
We try to do the same.
We'll close our eyes and try to catch
we are
them.
in front of a river. We don't see it here, but anyway, there's a river, actually.
river here is
you will see it now.
The river here is wonderful.
Why not? You can end your tour here again,
Yes.
in front of that river, and
Super.
telling us about Europe.
Be happy to. That would be wonderful for us, I think.
So that's a really European promise. We will come back with them. Actually, we will see them all in the next interviews. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.